Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to graph a sine function using the y equals a sine bx plus c equation. Okay, so y equals a sine bx plus c. As we know, the a will always represent the amplitude. So this is going to represent the amplitude. The b is going to represent the period, and the C is going to represent the phase shift. So now, what are the formulas for amplitude, period, and phase shift? The amplitude is going to be the absolute value of A, the period is going to be 2 pi over B, and the phase shift will be C. Okay, so right now I'm going to show you the parent graph, which is y equals sine x. As you can see, there are no variables, so that's a given that everything is going to be 1. So a will be equal to 1, b will be equal to 1, and c will be equal to 1. So this means that the amplitude is going to be 1. So on the x-axis, we're going to write 1 in the top and negative 1 in the bottom. So then, since the given period is 2 pi, we're going to write here 2 pi, and we'll end, that's up to where we're going to show the graph. So then we're going to write the middleman right here, which is going to be pi. And for a sine function, we always start at 0. So what we're going to do is graph all the way up to 1, and then pass through the pi and end at 2 pi. So that's going to be our parent graph. Oh, and like that. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to do a graph, but now using an amplitude of 3. You can tell there is no b and c variables, so not much is going to change but the amplitude. So that means that on the y-axis we're going to write it a 3 and a negative 3 at the bottom. However, the period will be the same, which is 2 pi, and the middle will be the same as well, which is just going to be pi. So then we're going to graph starting at 0 as well, go all the way up to 3, passing through pi, going down to negative 3, and ending at 2 pi as well. So this is how the function would look like. Okay, so now we're going to do a little bit of a harder function, which is 4 sine 2x minus pi over 2. So the amplitude is going to be the absolute value of 4, which is just equal to 4. The period would be 2 pi over b. So then this means it would be 2 pi over 2, which would just give us pi. The phase shift would be pi over 2. However, when you have a minus, it means you're going to be shifting to the right. And when you have a plus, it'll be shifting to the left. So in this case, we are just going to write pi over 2, meaning that we will shift to the right. Okay, so now we're going to graph. And since we have an amplitude of 4, so we're just going to write 4 in the top and negative 4 in the bottom of the y-axis. So then our period is pi, so we're just going to write pi here, not like before where it was 2 pi. This time we just end at pi. And since we are shifting to the right half of pi, then we are going to begin with pi over 4. Sorry for my mess. So then, since we always start at 0, we're going to have to start from pi 4 to pi. So we are only actually going to show this little bit from the function that they're giving us because of the period that they're showing us. But obviously we know that this would be this way and this would be this way and the graph would keep going. But for now, it's just this part that is part of the function. Okay, so now I have another function, which is 3 sine x plus 2 pi. So again, the amplitude of this is just the absolute value of a, which would be the absolute value of 3, which is to be equal to 3. The period is 2 pi over b, which is 2 pi over 1. Since there's no variable, this means it's a 1, which is to be equal to 2 pi. The phase shift is negative 2 pi, because as I told you before, if you have a plus, you're shifting to the left, and if you have a minus, you're shifting to the right. Okay, so now the graph looks a little different. Since we are shifting negative, we're actually gonna end at 0 and begin at -2 pi with a middleman of -pi. This is because you are shifting to the left the same period, so it's basically the same thing but starting on the negative side. So the amplitude is of 3, so we're gonna write 3 at the top and -3 at the bottom of the x-axis, and then we're gonna graph normally the way the way we did on the other side. We're just starting at a different place. Oh, and remember to go all the way up to the 3, which is the amplitude. So then it would just be like this, and that would be your graph of y equals 3 sine x plus 2 pi. That is it for the video. Thank you for watching.